Hi, it's me again with Corel Tips and Tricks. Over the years, I've done a lot of videos on lake maps and how to draw them. And somebody said this is Lake Tyler, which is in Texas, a couple hours away from me. And they picked a pretty low quality map. It's only 480 by 383, and it might or might not work, but it did work. But this is not like, or it is unlike most maps. This one came out pretty easy, even though it's pretty low quality. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to make and this is pretty important. It's 6. I've set my nudge factor on 7, so I'm going to make a duplicate of it. You know what? I don't like it that close. I'm going to make my nudge factor like 10. Control D and make a duplicate and move it over. I had my numbers unlocked. Control D or the plus key on the keyboard. And then this is pretty small, so I'm not going to do anything to it but trace it. I'm not going to turn it into a bitmap. I'm just going to go outline, trace, clip art. And the reason I decided to do this map and make a video is because it's pretty unique. So let me nudge the original back over, take the bitmap, and do this right here. Now, normally you would have to take out all the other stuff after you deleted it. So we're going to go to object group and ungroup. But in this case, we don't have to. We're going to take the blue of the lake and nudge it down, and the blue of the lake and nudge it down. Now, there's a couple of places on the other side of the road of a bridge that I'll take both of those and nudge them down. And the reason, and remember, I'm saying nudge and not move. Now we've got some letters that are from inside the map where they drew kind of key points. I don't know what the B and C stand for, some sort of code for something. But if we will take all this and left click and right click it in red, I like it as a hairline. And if we go to object and break the curve, well, we have to pick on one at a time. Go up to object and break the curve apart. We can get rid of those letters. If we would just grab that letter, it's a D and a G or a C, make sure you grab just the letter, it'll highlight it. Now right down here there's an A, but there's also a part of a square that was part of a box. So I'm going to take, and I've still got my nodes big from a video I made this morning. I'm going to delete these nodes, and then that's really pretty good. That's all you really have to do. Now I see immediately there's a whoop-de-doo, what I call it in the map, that you don't want. So what you can do is just kind of turn it around and do some other things. You know, we could turn it, we could just take that node and hit delete. Now, if you remember, it's still a map and you're making it, and, you know, you can refine it later, but the refinedness is, you know, it's a map that you're doing. You know, nobody's going to be boating by it or driving by it. So on this side, I have to go to object and break the curve apart and get rid of the F. And while I'm right here, I see a bad spot, and that would really cause trouble with your laser. Two ways you could get around that, because since it's like that, you could take the virtual segment delete key and delete that. Now we've still got a bad spot, and what that is, that's a broken node now. So what we could do is select both those nodes, go up to Windows, Dockers, join curves, and I've got mine set pretty low, and it joined those two curves. Now we could delete that curve. And then you would just kind of look over it again, and I need to change my nodes back to small because it is really kind of irritating, not working right now. So in this one, instead of deleting it and having to join the nodes, we could delete that node and delete that node, and then take actually these two nodes and right click your mouse and turn them into a line. Now you might not want a line, but you could go over here and right click and turn these into a curve, and then you could manipulate the map. But I would really wait until we're going to put the map on top of there. Let's see if there's any other, there's a major problem right there if you were to cut that out. So what we're going to do now is just move that node to that side and move these nodes over. and kind of change the direction of the flow, and you would never probably want straight corners. That might be another box. Let me go ahead and change my nodes back, and you might, let's go to Tools, Options, Corel Draw, Nodes, and I'm going to make them small again so they won't be such a problem. Now that we kind of got our map, we can take our original and we can actually nudge it over and up and just kind of look to see what we have. Now we're going to have to, it's still selected because it's behind the page. Go up to Order, Object Order, Front of Page. And now you can see your outline of your map, and it's pretty good. You know, we're almost dead on. You know, we can't see what's behind that, you know, but there's a road there, and we're good there. And there's a few islands in there, and you can either not put them in, or that would be pretty hard because there's an island right there that might even be connected by a road. We'd actually have to move it out of the way just to kind of see. And yes, that island's connected by land, so it looks like more of an island. And then what I would do is just leave that over there and start drawing your map. And just remember, nudge, do not move. So now we're going to take our, and if you will set your lines now, go right here, and let's set the line to, let's try 0.1 of an inch. That's too thick because I'm actually looking at the hairline. That might work a little bit on the road, but we're going to go less than that, a little bit more than that. That'll work for the roads. And then right here, please, scale with object. And go ahead and make them black. This is CMYK. I'm using somebody else's file. Go back up to black, and said okay. Now all your, and we can change this back to a hairline, which we need to, and actually change it back to red. I'm going to right click red. Now we can start making our roads with our pen tool. And it's almost easier probably to freehand these. If we'll grab the freehand tool and just, you know, see how good your hand-eye coordinates are with your hand. And that's pretty good. You know, then come through here and draw the other lake. And we can always, you know, I'm going to go a little bit faster on this one and maybe purposely make some mistakes. And we want it to go along the lake. And I'd only do it a couple at a time. And then what we could actually do, I thought I'd change that to black. I would make these roads black so we could see them. I'm going to go down here to the pen tool and make it black. I thought I'd set it on black, but we'll leave it to black. As long as scale with object is still picked. And the reason I'm scaling with object, because it's going to cause a lot of trouble when you make this map a normal size. You know what? I didn't make that one the size I wanted. And then still scale with object. And I'm going to go ahead and make that same size. Okay. And make sure it's scale with object. You can always hit F12 on your keyboard to get that. And we've got scale with object. Now we've got, you know, starting off right here. Take your shape tool and, you know, maybe bring that road in there, curve it around. You can add nodes. You know, you could add a node right there by double clicking on your mouse, move nodes over. And like I said, as long as the road is relatively smooth and relatively, I'm just right clicking my mouse and get a little bit closer. You know, you could bring that node down, double click with your mouse, and get you another node, bring that in. And this is maybe a point where you're going to want to change some of them into a cusp. So we're going to take this node right here and right click and turn it into a cusp. And by doing that, when you move the handle, only one handle moves. The other curve does not move. But then we can move that handle, and you can just kind of see where that's not working as a cusp. We can double click and make another node, move the handle down, and we're almost done with this road. And then you could put in your points of interest and your names, and we're going to double click and make a John in the road right there. And this is where you're going to want, see how it's moving both handles? If we will right click and turn that into a cusp, then when we do that, it's just moving one handle. And then you can click on it again and move the other side handle to wherever you need to be. I'm not going to make this perfect because I'm just showing them how to do it. You want to make sure it's away from the water. And also on the bridge right here, we want a stopping point. But I'm going to go ahead and do the whole street, the whole road. And then to make a gap for the going across the lake is pretty easy. Let's go ahead and move this a little bit. See, and just move that node just over a little bit. Now to make a gap, I would just take a rectangle tool and then take your virtual segment delete key and delete that line. And that created a gap for your lake. Now we could actually take the whole map and move it out of the way. I only did the one street. And now we can check one road at a time. And because we're going off, look at that. Now in this one, we could have made the line straight. We didn't have to take that box out because the bridge would actually be on top of it. So I could have done that, but by the picture, you couldn't really tell what was going on there. And then just do all the other roads, put your lake, name of your lake up there. You'd want to look at the top, make sure these roads look good. You'd want to probably join those two roads right there. And then just go along before you ever cut it out and make sure you're not in the water somewhere. That's the main concern. There's another, you need to go over the whole map because there's another bad spot. Now, what I would do to get rid of all the bad spots is I would go around here and do that. Now, that's a broken node. But after you found a couple, for me, the easiest thing to do is take the Smart Fill tool. Let's take it back on blue, and let's fill that in. And what that did, that got rid of those nodes. Now we can delete that. Delete that, and don't always just remember to fill in your other part of your lake. And then just nudge that back and start over and do it again. And I would always double check your map. This would be a good reason to use the pen tool. So and if you ever see it nudge, move it over. So I'm going to left click, right click, and use the pan tool. The pan tool is pretty important. Once you've zoomed in, then you could pan around everything to see if you got, you don't want too sharp of corners. That might not look too good in plywood. And what I'm doing is rotating the mouse wheel. So we're going to go back to the shape tool, and maybe let's just delete that node and then take the handle. And like I said before, you're not doing this for a real map. You're trying to make it look the best you can on wood. And then you would just want to make sure you don't have any really sharp points, and just take your handles and make that, have a spout for the laser to come in and come back around. You can't delete that one. I thought maybe we could. But you could bring that in and, bring this actually out. You just don't want too many sharp points. But then again, I would look over the entire map. Like right there, why are there so many nodes? There doesn't need to be that many nodes, so we'll just select them and hit delete. Select them and hit delete. As long as it didn't change, so that changed quite a bit, that didn't change very much at all. I don't like sharp corners of the lake, even though they really might be. You could take and change that corner, not be quite so sharp. Now here we got another sharp corner. So this is going to be a part where you're going to double click and make a node and do that right there. And if you do that, you're well on your way. Just bring in your roads, type in your names of your road. There's plenty of, this particular one just has names of roads. It doesn't have any like highways. Anyway, I hope that helped them a little bit, and thank you for watching.